As the custodian of the country's gateway, we continuously seek to provide a seamless and joyful experience for you. The Butterfly Effect, a set of facilities and services specially catered to guests with hidden disabilities. The Butterfly Effect aims to ensure our hidden disability guests have a seamless and pleasant journey at our airport. We have designated areas for our hidden disability guests, and you will be specially assisted by our trained airport staff. The process is fairly easy and hassle-free. Should you need to use the Butterfly Effect, you can pre-register through Malaysia Airport's official website 3 days prior to your flight. The registration will allow the airport community to prepare for your upcoming travel, ensuring a seamless journey. Upon arrival at the airport, do look out for the Butterfly Effect logo. It is located between doors 2 and 3 at departure level KLIA 1 and at door 2, departure level KLIA 2. You may then proceed to the customer information counter at level 5, departure hall KLIA 1 and level 3, departure hall KLIA 2. For verification purposes, please present an OKU card or a letter issued by a doctor stating the hidden disability condition. You will be given a butterfly kit containing a lanyard, brochure and leaflet on locations of the calm room and sensory walls. It is best to have the lanyard on at all times for proper assistance from our airport staff. Our friendly airport care ambassadors will happily guide and escort you from the check-in counter all the way to the boarding gate. As a Butterfly Effect guest, you may utilize the calm room located at level 5 KLIA 1 before proceeding to the boarding gate. Our calm room is designed specifically to help individuals with hidden disabilities to regulate their emotions and calm their anxieties in the busy and loud airport environment. The interactive touch panels of our sensory walls help hidden disability guests to engage through their touch and sight, encouraging interactive explorations. Our Butterfly Effect guests will have special access at all checkpoints within the terminal. If your flight is at the satellite building, you may take the train or ride the bus and enjoy the scenery. At the boarding gate, you will go through the final round of security checks. Our aviation security personnel will give more time and flexibility to accommodate to your needs. As caring hosts, the aim of the Butterfly Effect initiative is to provide an inclusive and seamless airport experience for all our guests.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome everyone to another session of My Airports Butterfly Talk, a webinar via Facebook Live and hosted by Malaysia Airports. I am your host and your moderator for today, Awan RB. And during this session, we will be sharing with you, our audience, on an often overlooked disability, the hidden disabilities. All right, so for the past 3 months, we have been talking about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or as we all know, ADHD, the science and how it affects one's daily activities. If you haven't watched the shows though, you can always visit our official Malaysia Airports Facebook page to watch them. So, for today's episode, we are going to talk about dyslexia, what it is and its symptoms. To help us navigate today's talk, we have a very special guest, Dr. Aman Singh, with us. Welcome and hi, Dr. Amma. How are you, Amma?
Hi, RB. Thank you for having me. Delighted to be here with you and Rashidi. Yes.
Thank you so much. Right. For those of you who might not know, but I doubt it, Amma is a senior consultant pediatrician and has served in the civil service for more than 35 years. He was the former head of the pediatric department at Hospital Raja Pemaisuri by Nur Ipoh and the head of the Clinical Research Centre at Perak, as well as an honorary senior fellow at the Gallant Centre for Health and Social Policy. Now, Amma is also the advisor for the National Early Childhood Intervention Council, or NECIC, right? I'm so sorry. I'm a bit nervous
right.
talking to such a prestigious person as you. And he is also the National Family Support Group for Children and People with Special Needs. Throughout Amma's career, he has assisted the Ministry of Health in revising the child health services and has introduced various national programs for children, as well as developed the national registration mechanism for disability registration. Okay, so all this outstanding contribution also sees Amma being awarded the Outstanding Asian Pediatrician Award and Special Education and Inclusion Association or Senior Advocacy Award. Did I get that right, Amma?
Yes, you got that right. Well done, Arbi.
My tongue is a bit twisted. I'm so sorry. But apart from that, Amma and his wife, Datin Dr. Lim Swee Im, also offer spiritual direction and counseling. I would also like to add that Amma himself is living with dyslexia, if any of us is wondering, which we will get into more later. Okay. So would you like to add anything, Amma, to
No, that's
what I
fine,
said just now?
Arbi. Yeah. Thank you for the
All
kind
right,
introduction.
cool. Okay, so now that I believe we are acquainted with the audience, I would like to start with on a lighter note. Amma, I was informed that you are a keen bird watcher. You spend your free time amidst the wild, observing the feathery creatures. Can you share more on this interesting passion of yours, and how does it help you in managing your work as a pediatrician?
I'm not sure it helps me managing my work as a pediatrician, but I'm definitely fascinated with nature since young. I've enjoyed plants and trees and insects and of course birds. And I think birds are very special to me because I think they teach me a lot about life. They teach me about living today in the present, not living in the future like many of us do. We either live in the past or the future, but birds live very much in the present. And birds actually, if you get to know them, can actually become quite friendly to you. I've published 2 books on local birds, one for NGO, another one for myself, which is entitled Friendship with Birds. And I talk about how we can become friends with the birds in our garden and so on. But in terms of work, I think going to the jungle, watching birds allows you to actually let go a lot of stress. You see the beauty and diversity of nature do. I'd like to show a picture. Could I have the slides on, please? Is it possible?
Yes, sure.
Yep. Let's skip this one and go to the next one. Yep. So I thought I'll just show you a couple of pictures. I take a lot of pictures of birds to try and share the beauty. Also, I contribute to a lot of books internationally. And you can see the birds are very, very fascinating. I think many Malaysians are not aware of their birds. For example, the one on the top left is a rufous-browed flycatcher. This particular family was nesting and still allowed me to come quite close to have a look because I was non-threatening. The one on the bottom left is a crimson sunbird. Fascinating when you see them in real life. The top right is is the starbird of the highlands, Camerons or Frasers, which is a silver-eared Mesia, very friendly, usually in a flock. And the bottom is a bird that I've been trying to cultivate a friendship with, a buff-rum woodpecker. Very interesting marking. So I think one of the things about birds is that, there's diversity. It teaches me about diversity in humans as well. So actually, I've learned quite a lot about ourselves by watching birds.
Oh, okay. I never knew that you can actually be friendly with birds. I mean, if you approach them, they would just fly away.
I think most of us have had a bad relationship with birds because we tend to throw stones or do something. But I think if you're quiet in the jungle and persistent, I usually wear almost the same cap. So they kind of think of me as one of the creatures in the jungle, I think.
Yeah, but a PSA to our audience, please don't throw stones to the birds or any of the animals for that matter, actually. I am actually really interested to learn more about your the bird interest and all that. Maybe we can take that to the side later on. But coming back to our topic today, we want to explore more and bring awareness on dyslexia. But we would also like to know what made you want to venture into pediatrics, and perhaps you may share your greatest experience or your moment in the industry.
I think that I've always wanted to prevent disease.
Mm-hmm.
So I initially thought of doing public health and working there, but it was a very difficult journey to make. At the time I was young, there was in the early 80s. And so I
Mm-hmm.
decided then to do pediatrics because if you work with children, you can influence the outcome for adults. And so that's why I
Yeah.
work with them. I also like the fact that when you work with children, what you see is what you get. There's no secondary gain like with adults. Sakit sini, sakit sana. The children, when they're well, they bounce back. When they're ill, and you can actually influence the outcome very quickly with just a little bit of effort put in. They're
Okay.
very fragile, but they're easy to support as well. I think my most formative experience working with children is learning from them. I think lots of doctors and healthcare professionals think they are giving all the time, but I've
Mm-hmm.
recognized that I'm receiving all the time from the courage of children with serious illnesses and their brothers and sisters as well as their parents. I've learned an enormous amount from them. So I think that it's been a gift. Sometimes you think you get paid, to do this work, but actually a lot of it has been just a wonderful gift of working with children. The hours have been long. There has been a lot of pain working in that area with children who are suffering,
Yeah.
but there's been a lot of gift as well. Their laughter, their courage has impressed me, and I think it's changed me. I doubt I'm the same person that I was when I started working with children. They have taught me how accepting they are, and that's very powerful gift
Mm.
that they've given me. Yes.
Yeah, that's actually really inspiring. I mean, I hope with what you told us just now, what you shared with us, especially for the audience who are interested to get into medic, perhaps you can also learn more about pigs. Okay, so let's talk about dyslexia then. Without going more into anything else, can you perhaps enlighten us what exactly is dyslexia and what are the signs or maybe the symptoms that we can identify?
Yeah, thanks, Arvind, and thank you for bringing this less recognized problem up, and also for the phenomenal work all of you do at Malaysian Airports with Butterfly Effect. Could I have the
Thank
next
you.
slide, please? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm just going to use a couple of slides to illustrate. And I want to say the first thing is there's no universally accepted definition of dyslexia. That's a problem. The
Okay.
commonly used one is something called the DSM-5 or the ICD-10. I'm not going to use them just yet. I'm just going to skip this slide, okay? And there is this Malaysian pediatric protocols, which a link will be shared with the audience in a while. And they've got a detailed description of what dyslexia is. But I'm going to skip that as well and come to this very simple one because I think we need to make it very clear for the audience. There are three words
Yeah.
you need to know: dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. Uh, all these are specific learning disorders. That means there are problems with children with learning. And dyslexia specifically is a reading problem, whereas dysgraphia is something which is a writing
Mhm.
problem, and dyscalculia is a math problem. But quite often, the child with dyslexia will have problems with writing and problems with math as well. So I'm not going to discuss the other two. I'm just going to focus on dyslexia. I like
Okay.
this definition by an individual in 1998, which says unexpected difficulty in reading for their age in children who
Mhm.
otherwise possess normal intelligence, motivation, and schooling. Okay, so basically, this child has gone to school, has a normal intelligence, gone to kindergarten, gone to school, but still has difficulty in reading. You don't expect it for this child. I think that's one of the
Yeah.
very good definitions. Huh? I like this MOE definition as well from our Ministry of Education. Murid-murid yang mempunyai kecerdasan mental yang selaras atau melebihi murid-murid biasa, tetapi menghadapi kesukaran yang tinggi dalam menguasai kemahiran mengeja, membaca dan menulis. I think that's a very good and simple definition. So these children are children who quite often have much better visual learning abilities or listening abilities, can work on projects. And the kids I've met
Yeah.
over the years, met quite a lot of dyslexic children with dyslexia. They actually, bright. You can have good conversations with them. They are very capable, but they got a
Mm.
problem with reading and quite often with writing as well. I've shown the slide, this busy one, just to show you how big the whole problem is of development problems in children, and it's about 10 to 15%. So you can expect that 1 in 10 children at least
Yeah.
has got a
That's
problem.
quite a big number.
That's
Yeah.
very big. And I think
Mm.
both our education department, Ministry of Health, don't give enough emphasis to the science around. Neither do our universities. Our universities don't train doctors enough for this. And if you look at dyslexia as one of the problems, it's about, I'm sorry, the slides there moved a bit. It's 5 to 10%. Some people quote
Mm.
15%, but at least 5 to 10% of all children like me. Okay. So let's talk about what you need to have before you say dyslexia. Okay,
Okay.
I've seen children who have never gone to kindergarten, and then the Chegu
Mm-hmm.
referred to dyslexia. That's not possible. You can't diagnose dyslexia in someone who's not had any schooling. So you must have at least about 6 to 12 months of schooling. You've gone to kindergarten, people have taught you ABCs, taught you how to read and write, and then you're still
Yeah.
struggling. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's academic skill below what's expected for your age and causes problems. It doesn't cause problems, then it's not a problem. Huh? So it has got to cause problems in school. You're falling behind your peers. And thirdly, you don't
Okay.
have other problems. You don't have something like a vision or hearing problem. Your intellectual functioning is good. That means
Mm-hmm.
you're not having a reduced IQ. You don't have any, you're not born with any neurological problem, no brain problem. And sometimes it could be somebody moving from one language to another. I saw this girl, she moved, she speaks only English at home, and then she moved to a typical Malay language school, and then she's struggling. I think that's not dyslexia either. That's a language struggle that you had.
Yeah, that's a language
Yeah.
struggle. Yep.
So I think these three prerequisites have. Then these are the signs and symptoms that you will have. You'll have difficulty in reading, very inaccurate or very slow, a lot of effort, or some children not reading at all. You don't
Mm-hmm.
understand the meaning of what you're reading. You have difficulty with spelling. You have difficulty with written expression, which means your poor writing or problems with grammar. And then you have difficulty with numbers and concepts and facts. Okay, and I've, I've lost my slide there because it looks blur on the screen. Huh? Okay, never mind. But it's not a medical problem. That's very important. They come to us, they come to see us pediatricians for help, but actually it's an education problem more than a medical problem. Huh? Let me show you some examples. Here's a picture drawn by a 5-year-old child. He's had 1 year in kindergarten, and his mother, who's a doctor, actually sent this to me. Amma, what do you think? Huh? So notice how he has mixed up a lot of the numbers. Okay,
Yeah.
even the arrangement of the numbers in the clock is also incorrect, not to mention the numbers as well. So you have to consider dyslexia in a child like this. Or here's another child that I saw. I just put a picture of a child hidden with the glasses. And he was 8 years old when I saw him. In standard one, he was average. In the kindergarten, he was among the top. And,
Mm.
previously he seemed to be able to read. Now he has struggled to read. Actually, what happened is that his parents used to read books to him. He memorized the book word for word. Every word in every place in the book he knows. So if you ask him to
Oh,
read, he reads from memory, not because he can read the book. Okay,
but
so
because he
when
read it from his memory.
read memory. So when you understand it too, struggling lah, because material has grown, the volume has grown, he couldn't. Very, very bright boy, very frustrated with what was happening. And teachers were starting to call him lazy and bodo and stupid when he wasn't that at
Mm.
all. That's a very common situation that we see because these are bright kids, most of them. Here's an 11-year-old that I saw. He's as part of an essay he wrote about a storm. The stormy is coming. See the stormy coming fast and loud with thunder. I get scared when stormy come near me. So you can see his grammar is short like mine a bit, and his writing is scribbled, and he's got spelling mistakes. So again, this is the kind of children who we call sent to E class, tak
Mm, yeah,
motivated,
yeah, yeah.
you're careless in your work and stuff like that. Huh? Here's another example of not being able to put the words correctly. He has a tree and he can't put the words in, even though he's been given the letters, but he can't put the word together because he doesn't understand what this word means there. Or here's a simpler version. He can write, but he can't
Mm-hmm.
handle capital letters. And so he fails with the big and the small letters inside. So he will probably spell my name with a small a, your name with a small a as well. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that can also be considered as dyslexia then.
Uh, when you see any of these, you have to start thinking about
Yeah.
dyslexia. Doesn't mean that you got dyslexia. You start thinking about dyslexia, and I think you should actually go and see someone who can do an assessment for you. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
reading,
But it's
writing
usually
problem.
the
Yes.
symptoms are a lot. It's not just one symptom.
Read
It
Arabic.
has to
That's
be
that's
quite,
very
yeah.
important. Yeah, and don't forget that when
Okay.
you're growing up, let's say you have just going to kindergarten, you probably mix up your D's and your P's and your B's.
Yep.
We all did that. Our numbers may be inverted for a while, but we outgrow that. Here is something that's
Correct.
persistent, and as you said, occupying more than one area of difficulty.
Yeah, and I mean, on a personal note, I just like to add that when you said that the 8-year-old boy just now, that the teachers were starting to call him lazy, and he was put in the back class, that actually happened to my brother. He is dyslexic, and he was called lazy. He was put in the back class. He came home from school crying that he wasn't doing well in school. So my mother, thankful that she is, she actually took sand. One of the things that she did, she took sand and then she started showing him how to write the alphabets and all that. And well, now he's grown, he's working, he's doing well. So thankful for that.
I think what
But
you're
yeah,
expressing there is, Arbi, that somebody has to believe in you, that you're not stupid, that you have
yeah,
capabilities. You're just struggling with the education problem, yeah, a learning
yeah.
problem.
And actually, he's very good. He's really brilliant with physics and mathematics, actually.
And
So,
again, remember that different children may look different. It's not a uniform situation here we're talking about. I often use this word heterogeneous, not
mhm,
homogeneous. That means a child with dyslexia might look quite different from each other. They have capabilities in some areas and problems in other
mhm.
areas. So not exactly the same.
Okay, but um, uh, I have another question then. Does dyslexia then, can it also be associated with other disabilities, maybe like autism and all that?
Yes, I think that there is some association, and I was going to show a slide, but I think it doesn't really matter. Let's not use a slide. I think
Mm-hmm.
there is association with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, especially some association
Okay.
with autism, and some association with coordination problem. But I like to say that for me, I think that if you have autism, that's your primary problem. The dyslexia is a secondary issue. If you have ADHD, that's your primary problem. The dyslexia is a secondary problem. So focus on those primary problems rather than the dyslexia problem. We may need to focus on your reading and writing, but I think the ADHD and autism are more important. Having said that, there are additional problems in the person with dyslexia. For example, their memory may
Mm-hmm.
not be so good, their short-term memory, or their
Okay.
attention span may not be as sharp as someone else. Their organization may not be so good, or they may
Mm-hmm.
not be so good at handling multiple instructions. Go and do this and this and this and this, and then come back. So you might have to break it up into smaller things. They may not be able to handle multiple instructions at one time or multiple directions at one time. They may get confused. So it's not just what should I say, a problem with reading and writing alone. There's a problem with coordination, a problem with memory, a problem with handling complex instructions. And for me, for example, I can't remember a single car number plate. You can give me a car for 5 years, I still cannot remember my car number plate. I have to write it down in my handphone. If somebody asks me what's your car number plate, then I have to go and check it up. Whereas my wife remembers the car number plates of cars that are passing by. You know, you know, and can and regurgitate them, but I can't. So each of us are different, and we have this difficulty with memory as well. Yes.
So is it fair then to say that a person with dyslexia, they can I not call it a problem then? I mean, it's just that they have to learn how to live with being dyslexic, right?
Yeah, Arvid is very well put. Some people consider it a different way to learn. They don't call it
Mm.
problem. They just think dyslexia is a different way of learning. I sometimes think, I wonder, is the human race meant to read and write? That's a very revolutionary way of saying things. Maybe we put ourselves in our own mess by developing the written word and writing. Maybe if we're all running around the
Yeah.
forest, living very simple lives, not destroying the earth, there will no dyslexia in the world because we won't have to read and write. So and of course, with the world becoming more and more complex, you see more and more people who not able to do what other people can do, and then we call them a problem. I just call them
Yeah, correct.
different. It's
Yeah.
diversity, and they're just different. Yeah.
Because if I might add, we are so stuck on this. Okay, you gotta get an A. If you get an A, it means you're intelligent. Whereas there's 7 different spectrum of intelligence. You might be good in this, but you might not be good in
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
wouldn't want to
yeah. I
call
was
it a
doing a
problem
I
then,
was doing an
right?
international conference this morning, RB, on education,
Mm-hmm.
early childhood care and education, and I said there that what we want is not to have standardized tests to tell people you pass or fail, but to have you
Yeah.
benchmark against yourself. You're constantly learning. Oh, last month you couldn't do this, now you can. Last year you couldn't do this, now you can. So it's a continual learning. You're benchmarked against your own previous abilities, and you're always growing, and we want to encourage people to learn some more. Whereas our pass fail system makes people feel like failures quite often,
Yep.
especially
Correct. I agree.
the streaming of ABC class, a horrible activity to do. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anyway, I'm so sorry to the audience. I do apologize for diverting a bit. But Amma, can you probably share with us how and what kind of treatment then do you suggest for parents with kids who have dyslexia? I mean, is it based on severity? Is it based on age or any other factors? And then I understand that they live with it until they're old. So how severe does it get? Probably does it get severe? Does it not?
All right. Thank you. Could I have the next slide that's possible? Thank you very much. Let's carry on from here. Yeah, I think, how can we help children? I think the key is early identification is extremely important. The earlier you pick
Mm-hmm.
this up and get support, the better the outcome is. So you're not going to get worse over time, RB, but, you know, uh, your challenges educationally do get most difficult. And we don't want you to
Yeah.
feel like a failure, I definitely standard 1 work and standard 6 work are very different. And, the earlier you pick up and support, the better the outcome is. Huh? I want to say here that it's a clinical diagnosis. What I mean by that, there are lots of tests out there available, but most of us believe that listening to the child, listening to the parents, and then the teacher. I love a teacher's report. That's very critical, and that helps. There's no real definitive screening test in Malaysia. That you see, tests have to be
Mm-hmm.
validated for your language base. That means we need a Malay dyslexia screening test, a Chinese dyslexia screening test, an English dyslexia screening test, and some of this has a cultural component as well. The key people who can help you are the ones I've listed there on the screen. The family
Mm-hmm.
medicine specialist. This is Pakar Perubatan at the clinics, health clinics level. I will go and see them.
Mm-hmm.
The most valuable person, I think, is a pediatrician. Most pediatrician would have enough experience with dyslexia to help you. The developmental pediatrician is the best, but there are very few in the country, and the waiting time is 6 to 9 months. I wouldn't wait. I would go and see a pediatrician quickly, and if they feel that they need more assessment, they'll send you on to a developmental pediatrician. The last person is an educational psychologist, very, very good, but again, very hard to come by. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to say something here that I say to many parents when they come and see me. If anybody, or even me, if I'm dismissing your problem, go and look for somebody else. So, I never want to dismiss the concerns of a parent or a child. And if I minimize them or say, no, no, don't worry, there's nothing here, then I say, go and find a second opinion for someone to listen
Yeah.
to. So for me, even when I think there's nothing there, I still see the children every month for a few months until I'm certain, because I trust that they know better than I, because they're living the problem every day, and we are not. There's one thing that's damaged on the screen for me. That's a dyslexia NGO. There's another very
Mm-hmm.
useful group of our dyslexia services in Malaysia are very weak. So there's a group of dyslexia NGOs that have come on board, and these are the groups that are most useful: the Persatuan Dyslexia Malaysia and the Dyslexia Association
Mm-hmm.
Sarawak. And the dyslexia association has got a nice checklist on board in case you're a parent and you just want to do a checklist, or you're an adult. They even got a checklist for adult dyslexia to go and checklist. Huh? Remember, it's just a checklist. It's a screening tool. Doesn't confirm your dyslexia, but these two organizations are both very good. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I've asked the uh, Malaysian airports to put this link into Facebook, and this the top at the top here is chapter 6 in the Malaysian Pediatric Protocols. They've got a couple of pages very well written on dyslexia, with a whole host of symptoms based on preschool, school, early school, secondary school, adult. And so I think
Ah.
parents should go and look there, and they give ideas what you can do. I mentioned some international associations because I think sometimes these groups are wonderful. As a parent, you write to them and they send a whole ton of useful stuff to you in case you're struggling to get stuff in Malaysia. Huh? So what would I do? Huh? The things I impress on parents is that you need strong family support. This child needs emotional support from you to know that they are not stupid. They
Yeah.
can get help, and they can improve. Huh? Secondly, I refer all my children to a support group, a dyslexia support group. Meeting other parents, other children with dyslexia is very, very, what should I say, foundational. You're not alone anymore. Other people have also got the problem. And they also give you
Yeah.
ideas what next to do. As we've said earlier, intervention and intervention. What do I do for intervention? I usually send to an NGO therapist. I work in Perak, and I have a couple of people in Perak who know how to handle dyslexia. Usually, they are teachers trained in dyslexia, and they teach you how to deal with it. Many of them use something called phonetics. If you got money,
Okay.
if you got money, then there's a OG program, which is not readily available in Malaysia, but some of our neighboring countries have got. It's a phonological program, 6 weeks, a bit expensive, but children do extremely well with this program. I think for education, we want to try and help their teacher put them in mainstream. These are the children who are not suitable for special education, PPKI classes, because they can absorb everything the teacher is teaching, just that they don't understand the writing on the blackboard and the book reading.
Uh,
So sitting in the classroom, they can absorb a lot from their Chegu. And if the Chegu can practice universal design for learning, individualized learning, and help them, we can offer some accommodation, which means for some parents, what we do is we get a teacher aide, extra teacher to come in the class, sit beside the child, and try to translate what the teacher is writing on the board for him to understand. Okay, and of course, I usually write letters for them so they got extra support for exam and extra time for exam because it's a lot more laborious during exam to do this.
yeah,
I
I
just
can
want to
imagine.
show an example of a child who's done very well. This is one of my colleagues' children. She's a pediatrician. At 9 years old, he was doing very poorly. He's bright, but poorly in school because of dyslexia, and our schools were not accommodating enough for him. So she
Okay.
decided to leave the country. She moved to another country, overseas, industrialized country, and there he moved from last in class to first in class because they
Oh
accommodated his
wow.
dyslexia. How does he move to first in class? During exam, the teacher sits with him. She reads the exam paper. He gives the answer. She writes the answer for him. So can you
Uh,
understand that? So we're looking at your ability to give the answer, not so much your ability
yeah.
to read. And of course, they gave him a lot of other support to enable him to read and write as well. So I think that we are not so what should I say? We're not so able to offer this kind of accommodation for children, which we need in our education system. I think
Yeah.
children with
Correct.
dyslexia, we must recognize at 10 to 15%. So, sitting in our e-class are children with dyslexia who are just neglected. Huh? And if they
Mm.
don't not rescued by some able parent or some interested teacher, then I think they're just going to be left there, and then they'll end up, thinking that they're a failure in life when they are not.
And it sticks until they're old. That feeling.
Agreed.
But
Yes, it does.
you did mention that early intervention goes a long way in
Yes.
helping kids with dyslexia and with their reading and writing issues and all that. But I do wonder because the awareness on dyslexia is still very low, even now, even in 2022. So I was just wondering, how about the people with dyslexia that came from probably they were born in 1992 or 1990, 1980, they're already adults and probably they're late teenagers possibly. So is it considered late then for them who don't know that they have dyslexia until they're grown up and they decide to just now seek treatment?
I think that it's never too late. I'm in my mid 60s. I don't think it's too late for me to learn. I'm still learning new skills all the time. I think we've all learned new skills these last 2 years during the pandemic, how to use Zoom and SeamYard and many other things that we previously thought were not possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
I spoke at a conference this morning, 1,200 plus people, half of them are online. It's a hybrid conference. And I think even 2 years ago, before COVID, people would say it's not possible to do. Suddenly, it's
Yeah.
because of the stress we had. So I think never say it's not possible. I think it's possible to learn. I think some of the signs that you might have dyslexia as an older person is your written word is poorly written work is very poorly organized, or maybe poor messy handwriting. You have difficulty writing reports. You can't finish your assignments on time, or your university or high school tests on time. And whenever possible, you try to avoid a read. Try to avoid reading or writing. You prefer doing something with your hands, which is tactile or project based. You
Yeah.
struggle to remember numbers, as I mentioned. That's another issue. If you have that, maybe just drop by the Dyslexia Association of Sarawak website. There's a quick
Mm-hmm.
checklist there for adults, one for children, one for adults. Just do that quickly. And if you find that there are sufficient features there, then get help from someone. Approach one of the dyslexia NGOs. I think if you're an older person, pediatricians are not going to see you. The adult physicians don't know very much. So
Yeah.
you're going to have to lean on the dyslexia associations for support in our country. But definitely, many of us who are older, what we've done, we've found other ways to cope. We found niche ways
Mm.
to cope.
Mm.
I write everything down. Everything has to be done, gets into a reminder in my calendar, for example. Any number I have to remember has to be written down immediately, or it's gone. So I think we learn coping mechanisms as we grow older.
Yeah, I think that also applies to my brother then, because until today he would sometimes just randomly call me or text me and like, Awena, actually what's the meaning of this word? Actually, can you read this for me? I don't really understand it. And I try to help as best as I can lah. But yeah, what
Arbi,
you
if you
wanted
tell
to say?
him now that Google offers you an opportunity to read that word for you, that means you just how does this word sound, and Google will actually have a short video which will read the word. Or he can use Google Translate as well as another app which I use, and you can press the same word there and it'll read out in English for you what that word sounds like. Then of course Google also
Yeah,
offers you an option to look at the meaning of words. I am constantly using Google as my and Android apps as my mechanism to learn words. I haven't shown you
yeah.
any of my handwriting, RB. If you saw my handwriting, you would freak out. You know what I mean? As a doctor, I used to scribble a bit so people couldn't recognize all my spelling mistakes. Yeah.
Okay, but I would just like to stress again to the audience that please don't think that having dyslexia could hinder or limit anyone's potential. I mean, like I said just now, all of us, we have our own different and niche intelligence spectrum. But as we always do in our Maya Ports Butterfly Talk, we showcase the tenacity and the resiliency of people in overcoming all the obstacles and achieving the highest ambition despite having hidden disabilities. So, I mean, take you for example, Ama, you have various accolades to your name and you have strived well in your life and career, even with dyslexia. So, I mean, I'm interested to know if you don't mind sharing your journey so far and how you yourself have been coping with all the challenges other than writing number plates in your phone and using Google.
Yeah, Arbi, thank you. Yeah, I think that when I was growing up, I was born 1958. When I was growing up, the word dyslexia was not in the vocabulary of the teachers that I was with.
Mm,
Today we know the word dyslexia. In those days, people did not know the word dyslexia. I remember when I was young, I struggled immensely with words. I had two benefits, or maybe three. One is that my father's a teacher. He's a lecturer in
mhm,
teachers training, trained teachers. That was one benefit. Number two, I had three older siblings who could read very, very well and were voracious readers. Because of number three, we had a huge library at home because my father loved literature. So we had one
mhm,
whole room, just wall to ceiling, floor to ceiling books. Huh? So I try to sit down with books, and then they would sit next to me, and then I say, "What is this word?" And then we'll read. Of course, I kacau them quite a bit, but they actually were very patient with me and able me to read. So I think if I hadn't had those three siblings and that kind of environment, I think I've struggled enormously with my dyslexia. Is not that severe. I must say that even if we say 10+% of people have dyslexia, is 2 to 3% of very severe dyslexia, like the 8-year-old boy I was describing, who can't actually read words
okay.
and memorizing everything. Huh? Many of us have milder forms of dyslexia where, without help, we are struggling along and and
Mm-hmm.
overcoming. For me,
Mm-hmm.
if I describe a dyslexia to you, it's like this. When I read a word, the word starts to move, and then it tastes bad in
Mm.
my mouth, and then it looks very bad to me, and I can't read it anymore. I don't want this word. It's a bad tasting looking word. Huh? So what I do is I learn to read very fast, so the word doesn't catch me or trap me. When I describe this to some children,
Ah.
they say, "Yeah, my dyslexia is the same as yours," but other children are totally different. They don't have that kind of bad tasting or word moving problem, but some children do have that word moving problem. So when I went to school, teachers, of course, knew who my father was because he trained them. And, they said, "You're so and so son. How come you cannot do this and cannot do that? How come your spelling is so
Mm.
bad?" Spelling was my
Mm.
worst thing. And so recess time, kena tangkap lah, kena simpan. You're not motivated, huh? I will tell your father, you're not motivated. But because of my father's influence, I usually manage to get away with many things lah, because they feel beholden to him as their trainer. And then I sort of, and teachers are quite kind. During the exam, they will look over my paper and say, "You made 10 careless mistakes." So I go back and save up my paper again and can find some of them. So very kind, probably because of the background. And then as I went on to university, thank God for things like multiple choice, which I could manage. Some children cannot manage multiple choice, but I could. There were less essays to
Mm.
write in medical school. Much of it was, just fill in the blank or multiple choice. And those were a lot easier for me to do than to write an essay. Essay is when I show up my failings the worst. And then along came computers. Sigh of relief, word processing. And now with Google email, what I do is when I write an article, I put it in Google email. And Google email is better than Microsoft Word because it checks many grammar mistakes as well, better than
Mm.
Microsoft Word does. So I use that. Of course, ultimately, my main editor is my wife. If I have to write something for the media, my wife will read first, okay, and make sure. Then she'll point out 10 or 15 careless. Careless. Yeah, I said the word to myself, careless. It's not careless. It's just my dyslexia mistakes, and then she'll rectify them for me. So I think that I've come to a functional place, but my dyslexia hasn't gone away. It's still there. And when I'm tired, it's a lot worse. When I'm fresh and
Mm.
alert, it's a lot better. Okay, I think that's
Mm.
true for many people. We overcome the core deficits of reading and writing, but we still struggle with it long term. Hope that
Mm.
helps people understand a bit here.
But
But it's
actually,
not easy, because my colleagues make fun of me. Can you imagine? My pediatric colleagues have made fun of me. I see you can't even spell that. I mean, look at the mistake he's typing on his screen. So sometimes it hurts lah, but kenalah lepaskan benda ni ya, jangan simpan dalam hati lah.
yeah, I just have to telan that. But something you said actually caught my attention because you said that the 10 to 15% of Malaysians having dyslexia is actually mild, considered mild. And you said that the severe cases where they can't actually read at all. Could you perhaps maybe explain a bit on that? Like, I
Yeah,
am actually interested to know about that.
like with any condition, even autism or ADHD, they come in a range. Some with milder symptoms, some with more severe symptoms. So the same
Yeah.
with dyslexia as well. The ones I really feel for are the children who entirely rely on their memory for recognizing words. And they memory. So if memory is not good, then you're in double trouble. Memory is very good, then at least you can memorize the whole book and come out with it. Huh? Uh, you know, I would say that there are children like that, and they miss lah. The milder ones among us sort of bumble along. Can I say here two other tips that I would give? One tip is that for parents, what I suggest that you label objects in your house, label the wall, label the chair,
Mm.
cruci, chair, a door.
Oh, meaning everything.
Label many things. And then your child has got
Yeah.
two things. He's got a visual reminder, that's the object, and he's got a
Okay.
written reminder, that's the object. So one way to build up written visual capacity for this child. The second thing is
Mm-hmm.
perhaps choose a language that's phonetically better. English and
Mm.
Mandarin are not actually phonetical languages. Malay is M-A-K-K-A-N, kan, makan.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to handle. If you ask me about conscience, I cannot spell conscience. But if I say it's conscience, then I can spell conscience because it's conscience. Okay?
Because of how you spelled it and yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that that's part of the issue here. Of course, some people still want to stick with their language that they want to use. That's fine. I would say also use one language when the child is young. until they've mastered that one language, then we introduce a second language, because two languages might confuse the child and struggle more with reading and writing at that time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that explanation. But it leaves me wondering then, what is actually then the biggest obstacle or challenges that someone with dyslexia or other spectrum of hidden disabilities in fact face in our society today? Because as I said earlier on in this show just now, that the awareness on hidden disabilities is very much still low among our community. So, I mean, what are the obstacles?
I think I've been mentioning it, but let's say it frankly, the biggest hindrance and problem with dyslexia is the emotional damage. Is that you are told that you can't do, you're stupid, you're no good, you're not motivated, you're lazy. So I think
Yeah.
this is what damages, which is why you want to catch your children very early and motivate them. By the time they come to us, sadly, many of them are 6, 7, 9, and they've had 2, 3 years of this kind of negativity, which has come from either their teachers, their peers, and sometimes sadly from the family as well. Look at your brother. Your brother's so good. Why can't you become like a brother? You know what I mean? He's always hardworking, and he gets his spelling right, but you are not motivated enough. And so some of them get actually very firm discipline as well in terms of rotan. And because it's hidden disability, which is the problem. I mean, if I had a cerebral palsy and I was in a wheelchair, everybody would be sympathetic or empathetic with me because they can see my disability. But here you can't see the problem. And so you
Yeah.
attribute it to a motivation or a capability problem. And
Yeah.
together with this also is a negative expectation of the child. That means, you'll never amount to anything very much in life. We can't harap very much from you. So this kind of thing seeps into it's a kind of emotional abuse without people wanting to emotionally abuse you. They actually
Right.
emotionally abuse you. Let me describe a girl that I looked after for a long time. She was in school. She struggled. She was in a good school, but struggled with her dyslexia, and therapy didn't help very much. Very motivated young girl, and then she kept telling me, "Amma, I cannot continue in this school anymore. This everybody is so negative about it." I mean, teachers try to help, some friends there, but she always felt like a failure. You know,
Mm.
so finally at Form 3, she said, "Amma, I don't want to study anymore. I think it's the end of the road for me." So I had a long chat with her and her mother, and we decided, okay, what would we like to do? She says, "I either like to do dance or I want to cook. I want to be a chef." So I said, okay, mother and I said, dancing, very hard to find cari makan. So let's go for the chef. So then I scrounged around, I pulled all my favors. I found a culinary school, which actually takes you actually later in life when you're after Form 6 and with some degree, but a diploma.
Mm.
But I said, hey, take this girl. She's very bright. She's very capable, motivated. I know she's only Form 3. So I bent their arms and they took her, and she did very, very well. She found her element and went through their curriculum, with a lot of help, because a lot of it is cooking. You can learn things visually, and became a
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very good, very, very good chef. And finally, she found some measure of achievement. So that's what the situation really is about. We want to enable the children to recognize they have abilities, they have capabilities, and we want to know how to help them find those and learn in that way. Yes. So it's a different way
Yeah.
of learning. That's what we want to think about here about dyslexia.
Yeah. Then can I just say then that perhaps actually that for especially for the kids, the children who are still growing up, then they just need the emotional support and the kindness from especially their peers and their family. Then I mean it goes a long way, right? Kindness.
Yeah. So
But
sometimes what I do,
yeah.
sorry, Abhi, what I do sometimes I write a letter to the teacher, or I go to the class. Then I sit down with
Mm.
all the classmates and say, okay, this is your classmate. The classmate, of course, not in the class at that time, and explain and handle. And you need to support your classmate. The classmate is not stupid. He's struggling with a learning problem, and that goes a very long way. A lot of children then actually realize
Mm.
and want to support. And some teachers are very good. They will organize support for you. Okay, your job, you sit beside him and you write down all the homework for him, so his mother and will know, a father will know about the homework. You know, and
Oh.
so they offer the support that the child will need in class. I think it's simple courtesy that we can do for children without very much extra, pain to any of us. Yes.
Yes. I mean, I agree. I mean, and there you go. I mean, that's the first-hand advice that you just gave just now, that we just need to give support to these children. I mean, and how we can overcome the challenges, and also for people with hidden disabilities to actually succeed in life. As many are aware already now, AMA is actually an advocate for children and families with disabilities, the disadvantaged and the marginalized communities, and so much more. The list goes on. AMA brings awareness to his fight with the hashtag OKU Rights Matter through OKU Rights Matter project. Maybe Ama, can you share a bit about your project then?
Sure. Can I get a slides on again, please? That possible? Thank you very much. Let's skip all this, which we have seen. I'll come back to that in a moment. And so, a couple of us disability activists have got together. Some of us have got disabilities. Some of us have got children with disability. One of my colleagues is visually is blind, and another one is caring for elderly people with dementia. So people like that have come together, both working with children and adults. We've done a study, we've done a couple of studies. One of the studies is this one that's in front of you here, Advocacy for Disabled Inclusion in Malaysia. And we've also set up a website, OKU Rights Matter. You can either get it from the QR code, or the Malaysian Airports Group will put it inside the Facebook, www.okurightsmatter.com. And there's a ton of resources here. You go to the resource thing and look, there's a whole bunch of resources, and we're building the website to grow the number of resources for people. Together with that, we're launching a campaign. This is the Make the Right Real campaign, OKU Rights Matter campaign. Apa maksudnya make the right real? This is an Incheon strategy from one of the major disability meetings in our region, Asia Pacific meeting in Incheon, South Korea. And they came up with this slogan, make the right real. We know what is the right thing to do. Let's make it real. I think quite often we know the right thing to do, but we don't make it happen. So we want to make it happen. Okay, that's what I'm saying. And so we've got posters put up for you, so you can just quickly, take our poster and put your face there and blast it out on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, or whatever. And of course, you can make your own posters as well, and encourage people to include people with disability. But we are hoping that this will spill over into beyond disability. We want to include everybody, every ethnic group, every religious group, every social class, whether they are Malaysian or non-Malaysian living with us. We want to accept everybody. I think we need this desperately in our country because we've become very fragmented. I'm going to go back a slide or two and talk about this. We often look at people with disability like that first wheelchair on the left, which is a passive hidden recipient. And many disabilities
Yes.
are treated like this. But we are talking about a second logo now, which is an active directing. The person with disability can do things, is able, needs to be respected and listened to. But we want to go to one more third picture, which is slowly emerging in the internet and on people's consciousness, that we accept who we are. We're all different. All of us have got our strengths and our weaknesses, and we want to celebrate each other and accept each other, and accept our differences as a strength, not as a weakness, that we bring something to the table when we are together. So I think that's what this website and this movement is all about.
Yeah, I thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, I do hope that Malaysia Airports and OKU Rights Matter project can work together and can collaborate more in the future.
Definitely.
But for the audience, if any of you are interested to know more, and please do join the move, you can check them out. Again, I would like to repeat what Aman said just now: https www.okurightsmatter.com. Correct, Aman?
Yes, correct. I think even if
And
you put OKU Rights Matter, you will reach our website. You Google
yeah,
that.
I mean, if you're on Google,
Yes.
you can also make your pledge as well.
Mhm.
Okay, I would. I think
By,
I've
by
been
the way,
talking.
Arby, we're trying to make this a grassroots movement up. We haven't
Okay.
approached any big people, some YB or stuff like that. We've actually want the grassroots Malaysians to say this is our right, everybody's right, and then we want to use that then to influence our MPs. We actually have trying to influence our MPs, and one political party has already got to us and asked, "Can you rewrite our manifesto to make it inclusive for the disabled?" I was so impressed with that political party, and we want that for every political party in the country, that is on their manifesto, that they include people with disability, and we want them to include people who are disabled as people who stand for elections in our country, and we want to improve the
Yes.
access to voting for people with disability. That's part of the agenda of this whole movement as well. Yes.
Okay, that's very great because people with disabilities, I think there's still not many, right? Working like other people. But again, like I said just now, before I yap about and take so much of your time, I think we should move on to the questions, to the Q&A session that were posted by our audience. Okay, so probably let us get one question from Tira Hisham. She asked, how soon can dyslexia be diagnosed? And if there is an early diagnosis, is it reversible?
I think I've tried to cover that, but let's emphasize it again. Uh, Once you've gone to kindergarten, once you have been taught how to read and write for 6 to 12 months, I think you can see dyslexia at that time. You might need a little bit more for the milder ones, but for the significant dyslexia, the severe dyslexia, you can see it by that time as well. You'll be falling back behind your peers. You'll be struggling with your reading and writing skills for your age group. So I think by that time, you'll be seeing it. Is it reversible? That's a tougher question to answer. I've seen some children that I've sent to the OG program. This is in Singapore, and after 6 weeks of the program, some of them have dramatically improved. The improvement is quite spectacular. Huh? I still think you'll keep some element of your dyslexic thing because
Yeah,
it's not a disease. It's just a different way of being.
learning of
And
being, yeah.
like me, I know still crisis with handphone numbers or car numbers and stuff like that. So some of those things will still stick with you, but it doesn't mean you can't be a functional and meaningful person in society. That's the important thing to see. We don't become functional and meaningful society when all our flaws are fixed. Just because I'm losing my hair right now doesn't mean I become less functional in society. Yeah? So I think that we're just different. So I wouldn't, focus too much on the minor aspects of the person with disability, but definitely getting reading and writing skills in place are a very valuable part of learning because so much is in writing, online and reading. So I think those skills are important to acquire. Yes.
Okay, all right. I think that really answered your question, Tira. Probably we should move to the next question then. It's from Erin Izrina. Dekat hospital kerajaan ada rawatan untuk kanak-kanak dyslexia tak?
So as I said earlier, the persons you can approach are the family medicine specialist or the pediatrician. These are two people who would have some capacity to do assessment. Huh? Ideally, RB, this is an education problem, an education issue. Ideally, our teachers should all be trained. Dyslexia should be the core part of their training. If 10% of children have dyslexia, you think this is a core part of teachers' training, but it's not. Huh? And so a teacher should be able to identify and work on remedial action for dyslexia. In the hospital, some occupational therapists can help a little bit. I think many of them don't have adequate training in their background. So it's a lot of dependent on experience. I am the kind of person who wants the best for the child. So I know which person, which teacher, which occupational therapist, which pediatrician are the best at doing it. So I refer children to the best. That's my style. But I would say that the average pediatrician, family medicine specialist would be people that you should go and get at least an idea whether your child's got dyslexia or not. Don't forget the dyslexia NGOs, which are very, very useful organizations. And ultimately, you want to find a teacher who's got experience with dyslexia to train you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's a very good answer. And then we move to the next question then. Siong Huat Ang. Interesting sharing, Dr. Amma, but may I know where can I learn more about dyslexia?
I think the links I shared are the best place. The Persatuan Dyslexia Malaysia, the Sarawak Dyslexia Association, the British and International Dyslexia Association are all very good. But I would suggest you download the Malaysian Pediatric Protocols, and there are a couple of very good pages summarized by one of my colleagues on dyslexia. Even though it's written for the medical fraternity, they're written in very simple, easy to understand language. I think those are the best resources. There are many more out there, but I don't want to overload people with too many links. These are very, very good links.
Yeah, and I'm sure that we, if we haven't, that we will be sharing the links also later on our Facebook page, on the comments perhaps. So for the next question from Rainy, how do we help This is actually a very interesting question. How do we help deaf child with dyslexia? Any specific method?
Rainy, that's a very, very tough question. I've worked with quite a number of deaf and blind children, and some of them have got learning. I even had deaf children with autism, which was a crisis to actually help them. I think, Rainy, the best solution, Rainy, I would say, is get a cochlear implant. If you have discovered this deaf child early, that means in the first couple of years of life, which we usually can, I will push for extensive speech therapy sessions, which means weekly, and then get onto a cochlear implant in the Ministry of Health. In the private sector, the cochlear implant is 80,000 to 100,000 cost you an implant, but in the Ministry of Health, this is free. So if you can show that you've got good speech therapy, that your child is willing to learn, and you as a family is committed, this will actually settle the deafness. Then you're only left with the dyslexia because now the child can hear. So just for the benefit of those who are listening in, all our deaf children now who are picked up early, we're all moving them to a cochlear implant program and putting them in mainstream education because they can hear and they can learn just like anyone else. So I think that thing. If you have missed that, that means we have not had a cochlear implant. The child is too old. Past a certain age, they will not put in a cochlear implant. So then I think then we should aim to learn sign language very, very well. I think sign language is a lot easier to learn for a person with dyslexia than written language is. Having said that, I think that you are facing an enormous challenge about reading and writing, and really no simple answer here at all. If you, I don't know whether Malaysian Airlines can share my email inside the link or something, so that Rainy can email me, and then I can try and find someone for Rainy who's got skill sets for this. Okay, that means if you came and saw me with your child, I would find somebody in the country who has got the best skill sets for this.
Yeah,
You're
probably.
probably looking at a speech therapist. Rainy, can I suggest that MASH, MASH, Malaysian Association for Speech and Hearing, is a very good place to go and ask this question. They're very lovely people inside there who can offer you some ideas what to do.
Probably also Rennie could probably message us, and then we can share Aman's email as well.
Thank you. That's a good idea.
Contact us. Yeah. I do hope that you will get all the help that you can and the support that you can get, Renee. But maybe we can move on to the next question now. From Sean Ray. This is very informative and educational. Thank you. My son is 11 years old and he's dyslexic. Slowly doing better in reading, recognize alphabets, memorize, and responds to instructions with the help of jumping jacks by Teacher Jack. He is very into building, a little engineer. Legos and Minecraft is his favorite. He goes for hours and hours. I allowed it because I feel that stimulates his brain in a good way. Wow, okay, that's very good.
Thanks, Sean, for sharing that. And that's what we want from a father, to discover things that his child enjoys and is good at, and enable him to do that. At the same time, Sean, what I would do is I would use the Lego and Minecraft as a tool to help him improve his reading and writing, and maybe encourage him, that okay, today's Lego session, I think let's defer it for half an hour while we do some reading and writing skills, and once you finish this, we'll go on to do some Lego and Minecraft. So use it as a reward to encourage him to learn, not negatively but positively as well. But I'm so glad that he's slowly improving in his reading and writing. As I suggested, have more visual cues for him in the house, label objects and so on, and consider even electronic applications that may read some words for him. Google now has also got this thing. Let me just check it on my phone while I'm talking, which I use sometimes, which is Google Lens. I don't know how many use Google Lens. Google Lens you can take the lens, show it as some words, and then you press, and then it can read it for you. It can read those words for you. You can even translate those words from another language if you need to. It's a very useful tool. So that's another thing. Don't be shy to use some electronic tools to support your child's learning.
Yeah. Okay. I really love this last comment by Sean Ray. But anyway, thank you so much, Amma, and to all our audience for all the questions. And as much as I love this session today, that is all the time that we have today. If any of you have any further questions that you want to ask us or you want to ask Amma, please do feel free to drop by our Facebook page and leave us a comment so we can get back to you with the answer. Thank you so much again, Amma, for joining us today, for taking the time to share with us your knowledge and your story about dyslexia. We really, really hope that we can work with you again in the future. For all the audiences out there, do stay tuned for the next topic. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, be reasonable, social butterfly, and adhere to all the safety measures. Bye.
Bye, everyone.